The real will of the people is the openly and transparently collectively determined will of any population of voters at any level of government for any specific issue. And that political will of the people is at the heart of voter directed democracy and our evolution towards voter directed online democratic republics on voter directed network. But the will of the people is also more than just a political concept. It's a reflection of something deeper. The will of the human spirit, the collective consciousness of humanity itself. And it's very important that people realize something about the real will of the people. The negative, divisive, hateful, even violent rhetoric that fills our social, political, and economic conversations and shapes the systems voters and our children suffer under is party driven. Prejudice of all kinds in our country, attacking anyone's identity, that's not the will of the people. That is a hateful, violent, destructive, party driven ideology. These hateful ideologies are promoted, platformed, financed, and implemented by political parties so they can divide, conquer, control, and oppress voters. So much of what we're talking about today, the anger, the division, the immense corruption, is the result of the party driven system. A system that limits us, that traps us, that divides and conquers us. That is not the real will of the people. I believe we've never fully determined the will of the people for any issue. This is why the idea of one citizen, one vote on all matters of importance, online democracy, and online democratic republics on voter directed network is so transformative and fundamentally pro democracy and dripping with ideas of political freedom and political justice. For decades, the party driven system hasn't even come close to implementing the real will of the people. Now, to be fair, the real will of the people has occasionally made it through our broken, flawed, and immensely corrupt party driven democratic republic. It has been rare, but it has happened. Our federal government, for example, isn't 100% authoritarian. I would estimate that for the past 50 years, it has been between 80 and 90% authoritarian and thus 10 to 20% democratic. Political decisions that build social, political, and economic systems that help voters and our children thrive and that truly create freedom, liberty, and justice for all, and political decisions that create systems, that create a society that embodies love, compassion, and community for all. That is when the real will of the people has been implemented. But we've never sourced and implemented the real will of the people consistently. And once you see how authoritarian, flawed, and corrupt the party driven democracy is, you will realize that no party driven system has ever even attempted to pull full ideas and then full votes from all voters for all issues. We've never come close to that. This is why sourcing the real will of the people openly and transparently via an online platform like Voter Directed Network and having an online democratic republic is truly evolutionary. Also, most polling in the corrupt party driven system is terrible. Most party driven polls present severely limited options, and the media then declares that their limited polling results pulled from a very limited number of voters who had severely limited party driven and corrupt options to choose from somehow actually represent something. After a poll is conducted, the American people, they say, the American people overwhelmingly support vomit Between the options of vomit and shit, Americans are clearly 60% pro vomit. That is a landslide for vomit. Vomit has a political mandate from the voters. When given party driven options for any issue, that is all we have to work with. No real solutions to the most horrific social, political, and economic issues and systems that have caused so much suffering for voters and our children for decades. The same issues that generations of voters and our children have suffered through for generations will always exist in the same broken party driven system, despite what the real will of the people has always been. So, no, your party driven polling data represents nothing real. We must ask all voters about everything, which is actually very easy to do today with our perpetual access to the internet and ubiquitous handheld supercomputers within reach at all times. And this type of collaborative, large scale work is what the internet is best at and most useful for. It is most useful for connecting humanity in various different amazing ways. So let's connect and openly and transparently determine the real will of the people online for every single issue at all levels of government. This political evolution is really simple and highly logical, and it's a very intuitive idea overall. Fully empowering voters to vote on everything with modern online voting on a platform like Voter Directed Network. That is the only platform ever designed for political discussion, political collaboration, and daily voting in order to facilitate this online political evolution will reveal the real will of the people. The real will of the people that has always always been good. Because for thousands of years, for millennia, the real will of the people, the will of humanity itself, has always been good. It has always been rooted in compassion, in empathy, in love, in community, in courage and justice, in wisdom and temperance. But for thousands of years, various types of authoritarian anti democracy systems have suppressed this collective will of human goodness. Our problems all stem from the suffering caused by authoritarian political systems, systems that fail again and again to implement the real will of the people. They fail because authoritarian systems must divide and conquer. They depend on fear. They depend on greed. They depend on physical, mental, and emotional violence. Authoritarian political systems depend on hatred and control. And that's why the divide and conquer party driven political system is unfortunately the most successful structure of authoritarianism of all time, especially when it hides inside a democracy. But here in the United States, we know we have a constitution. We know it creates a democratic republic. We know it tells us that our government must learn and implement the will of the people relentlessly. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That is our government's constitutional mandate. That is what our system is supposed to do, to learn the will of the voters and implement it. But when democratic systems want control, when they want to divide and conquer and oppress voters for control over wealth and power, they introduce political parties. And that's how you do it. That's how you divide and conquer and control voters, even inside a democratic republic. You use political parties. That's how authoritarian political structures exist within democracies and present an illusion of choice. For thousands of years, humanity has suffered under authoritarian political systems fighting other authoritarian systems for wealth, for power, for control, violence against violence, hatred against hatred, oppression against oppression. And yet, despite all of that authoritarian violence and oppression, in the past few hundred years, we finally began to evolve. Only recently have we discovered the right theory of government, a system built on liberty, freedom, and justice, on democracy, on a constitutional democratic republic that is dedicated to learning and implementing the will of the people. We've had the right idea, but only for a short time. And in those few centuries, we've still struggled to evolve beyond the authoritarian dynamics that keep creeping back into our flawed democracies. But now humanity stands at the edge of something new. Because for the first time in human history, in just the past 5 or 10 years, since the ubiquity of smartphones, since the ubiquity of handheld supercomputers, we finally have the technology to fully operationalize true, honest, transparent, collaborative, and cooperative democracy, exactly as our Constitution intended. We finally have the technology to evolve to modern, online democratic republics like voter-directed network. And that's the truth. The real will of the people has always been good. It's never been hateful. Just look around. Every day, trillions and trillions of human interactions take place, and the vast majority of those interactions across all of our systems, transportation systems, food systems, education systems, and many others, are overwhelmingly good and positive. Think about how much friends and neighbors support each other. Think about how much parents love their children. Think about the trillions and trillions of everyday small acts of kindness, support, politeness, consideration, encouragement, laughter, gratitude, creativity that define our everyday normal existence. These interactions go untallied and will never make headlines or be promoted. But that's humanity. That is who we are. That is the real will of the people. Yes, there is violence, there is fear, there is hatred, there is greed, there is aggression. There are humans making mistakes and hurting other humans. But those are the exceptions. They are not the rule. Human beings are overwhelmingly kind, compassionate, courageous, just, grateful, and loving. Here's another very simple test for humanity. Ask anyone, do you want systems that are good, caring, and supportive for your family, your friends, your neighbors, and your community? Or do you want systems that are violent, corrupt, and divisive? It's obvious. Overwhelmingly, humanity chooses good. So let's stop pretending that the will of the people is hateful or broken. It's not. The real will of the people is good. It always has been, and it always will be. And now, for the first time in history, we have the power to finally live by and have a society created by the real will of the people. When voters choose to evolve to online, voter directed democratic republics, we will see this overwhelmingly good and positive real will of the people be relentlessly sourced and implemented at all levels of government. So join us on VoterDirectedNetwork.com, the home of voter directed democracy, on this political evolution away from the violence, destruction, and divisiveness of authoritarian party driven politics and towards the modern and evolved, honest and transparent, collaborative and cooperative future of online democratic republics. All voters are always welcome.